Now let's talk about this part of the exterior. So that would be the south side, and then there's this wall over on this part. Basically, we want to figure out what is the best way of modeling this in Revit. We've already gone through the upper sides in the previous videos, so there's nothing too crazy. It's all just the same terraces, for which you're going to have to draw the curtain walls just like we discussed before, then readjust their elevations. But as for this part at the bottom, we're going to practice it together. So as you can see, this is a facade wall, which starts from the first basement, and we could say that it goes up to almost the first floor, but you can see that it's a little bit higher than that. So how should we model this? If we also take a look at the other plans for this project, for example at the first basement's plan, if you look closely here, you can see that there are some walls, and in between them we've got these glass panels. Now if I go take a look at this other plan, you might understand it better. So here we are, this is the first basement, and these are the walls, and we've got some other glass panels in between them, which are essentially curtain walls. So this is what we need to model. Now the first thing that comes to our mind for modeling this area and this level is commonly a wall that surrounds the building, and its profile has been edited, which means that some parts of it are removed. Now if you take a look at the ground floor, you'll see that there are some differences there. The walls seem to be a little bit different from what we saw in the first basement's walls. Now another thing is that over here on this facade, these void parts here should be of glass, but in the upper level in the first floor we've got railings instead. There aren't any glass, and the one you see here actually goes behind this area, so that's all the way across. If I want to show it to you, that would be in this plan, and that glass part belongs to this curtain wall behind the railings. Okay, so let's start with the first basement. Just like what we did for the previous exterior we've modeled, I'm gonna have to select this whole thing and import it to Revit, so I could use it as a pattern to model some stuff. So now I'm gonna bring it in to this new file, bring it closer to the midpoint and place it. Now we're gonna save. We're gonna save it as south elevation. Now I'm going to go back into Revit, then go into the south elevation, and if there's anything for the scope box, we're going to set it to none, then remove the crop, so click, and as for the crop region, we don't really need it, so we're going to turn that off as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and import my AutoCAD plan. So I'll go over here, select it, in the current view only, with meters, and the positioning doesn't really matter, we're going to readjust it anyway. Okay, so now we're going to select our file, and unpin it first, and we're going to align it. We're going to click on grid A as the base, and align this one with it. And as for the horizontals, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see better. And this right here is the ground floor, so we're going to go up to the first. Let's zoom in, and this right here would be the FFL, this is the TOS, and this one is the FFL. So we're going to align the first FFL with this offset right here. Now let's double check to make sure we've aligned them correctly. I could select this one and bring it to the foreground. Very well. Now the thing is that, do you notice how unwell our plans look? Our area looks a little too cluttered, and even when it's displayed and shaded, we can see elements that we shouldn't. Now when this happens, you might become skeptical of your elevation symbol. For instance, my elevation symbol is over here, which I'm going to have to move it down and bring it here. And now if I open the south elevation, our view should look less cluttered, because when that symbol was over there, we were viewing elements from the middle of the plan. Do you see how much better it looks? Now we've got a less cluttered and a better plan to observe. So if you notice that you can see stuff that are extra, the first thing you'll have to check is the location of your elevation symbol, just in case it's not where it's supposed to be. Alright, so we said that we're not going to be focusing on the upper parts, and we're going to be modeling this lower part instead. So basically, I'm going to have to go over to the first basement and draw a wall, then use the Edit Profile tool to take these rectangles out of it. So I'm going to go to the first basement plan, where we can also see that our AutoCAD plan lies. Now the first thing I'm going to do is measure a distance to check the exact size of what we have in the AutoCAD plan. Our wall is 30 centimeters thick, so I'm going to have to grab a 30 centimeter thick wall. That is, of course, if we have one. We do have 40, but we don't have the 30 centimeters of thickness. But that's okay, we can go to Edit Type and duplicate one of these current types. And first I'm going to name the duplicate as 30 centimeters. Then I'm going to go to the properties and set the thickness to 30 centimeters. Now let's begin drawing. The first thing is that I'm going to draw a single wall throughout, like so. And then I'm going to have to take some parts in rectangle shapes out of it. So I'll select this wall, then go to the elevation, select this AutoCAD plan as well, and I'm going to isolate those two. And here's our wall. First I'll have to readjust its elevation, so I'll have it start from the first basement, and as for its top constraint, I'm going to set that to the ground floor. Here's 2, 1, we're going to select the ground floor, and that'll be it. Now we're going to go ahead and edit the profile. Let's set the top offset to 0, so it stops right at the upper level, then select Edit Profile, and then I'm going to start cutting these rectangles out of the wall. That's actually one way to do it. We're going to cut all these rectangles like so. Now you may be wondering why I didn't apply wall opening instead, and maybe by doing so I would have been able to cut these rectangles easily out of the wall. But the thing here is that after cutting these parts out of the wall, we will be replacing them with curtain walls. So in such cases, we can't just use wall openings easily. If we have a wall opening, we can add another wall to it, which in this case, those will be curtain walls. So because of that, our option is to edit the profile. Then we could easily replace those cutout parts with curtain walls. What I'm doing right now is trim some lines so I would have a clean drawing. Now I'm going to trim these two together, then this one with this one, and done. Click Finish. And now let's go back here. Looks like we've got some lines around here, which we might have to extend all the way down. Therefore, I'm going to continue trimming and trim those lines as necessary. Like so. Now click Finish, and here is our result. So far we've modeled this wall for the basement level, and now we're going to go over here and we're going to fill all those rectangles we've just cut out with curtain walls. Essentially there will be glass panels here, and curtain walls are the tool to place them with. So that's that. The basement doesn't really have anything too complicated. You've also just watched how easy it was to draw. And if you take a closer look, you'll see it's all according to the CAD plan.